Hi guys, I'm Jane. We're going to do a mat workout today using these dumbbells. These dumbbells are 1 kilo each. You can substitute them for tins or bottles of water, anything that puts more load, more resistance for your muscles and bones. Now the heavier your weights are, the more challenging you're going to be in today's workout, and you can do every single exercise without the weights. But what you're going to find is that some of the exercises are actually easier with the weights, some of the exercises are actually harder with the weights. So for the most part of the workout, the exercise is going to be harder with the weights. So following me then down onto your mat, let's just put the weights at the side of the hips for now, and just hold onto the back of your legs with your hands around your spine. Use your abdominal strength to roll down onto your mat, and once you're there, I want you to spend the first few moments of your workout just organising your spine. So your heels want to be roughly in line with the sit bones and the same gap between the knees as you have between your feet. And just check that your eye gaze is forwards at the ceiling in front of you, your rib cage is nice and heavy on the mat, and your pelvis wants to be in its neutral position. So the three bones at the front of the pelvis are level with one another, and your pelvic triangle should be nice and square to the ceiling. So once you've organised the alignment of your spine, I want you to just focus on your breath. So we're just going to start off with rib cage breathing. Just slide your hands out to the sides of your ribs and then start to breathe deep and full into the back and into the sides of your rib cage. So you're looking to feel the expansion of your rib cage on your in-breath and then the narrowing of the rib cage on your out-breath. So this breathing pattern is known as lateral thoracic breathing. That just means sideways breathing into the ribs. And breathing into the ribs allows you to use your deep core muscles, so the pelvic floor, the deep abdominals. But now I want you to slide your hands down to your lower abdomen area. And instead of sending your breath in your ribs, I want you to send your breath into your belly. So when you breathe in, try to feel the lower abdomen inflate, and then when you breathe out, you're trying to feel the deflation of the lower abdomen. Now belly breath relaxes the abdominals, and relaxed abdominals do nothing to support the spine, but belly breath still has its place in core training because it allows you to relax all the muscle fibres in the lower abdomen area, so pelvic floor, deep abdominals, deep back muscles, hip flexors. It helps you restore more elasticity in those muscle fibres, and those muscle fibres are more responsive than to everything you do in your everyday life. So belly breath does have its place, but it doesn't have its place when we're putting load and force through the spine. So you're going to keep one hand on your lower abdomen now and one hand on the side of the rib cage, and go back to your thoracic breath. So you're trying to feel that lateral expansion of the rib cage on the in-breath and then the narrowing of the rib cage on your out-breath. And you're checking with your hand on your lower abdomen, but we're not getting the inflation and deflation of that lower abdomen area. Now on your next out breath, I want you to engage your deep core muscles. So feel that you're gently lifting up on the pelvic floor and drawing your navel into your spine to engage your deep abdominals, and try and keep that light tension there on your in-breath. So it's important that you keep your breath in your ribcage above your belly button so that you can use your deep core muscles to support the spine. And then we're starting off with a spinal warm-up. So you're going to interlock your hands behind your head. So your thumbs are sitting at the base of your skull. Your fingers are fanned out wide across the back of the head. Now, I like to have the elbows in the peripheral vision, so I can see my elbows out to the corners of my eyes. When you press your elbows downwards, it pushes the shoulder blades into the spine, and it can inhibit the spine from optimal movement. So let's just keep the elbows more forwards. Now just hover your hands a fraction off the floor and just let your head sink really, really heavy in the hands here. So really feel the weight of your head. Now on your next out breath, I want you to drop your ribs downwards to lift your head and chest upwards. And then using that in-breath to slowly roll downwards until the hands are hovering a fraction off the floor again. So we're not letting that head relax on the mat. So as you do this, guys, you're trying to initiate movement from your ribs. So your ribs slide downwards towards the top of the hips, but they're also dropping downwards towards the mat. And you want to feel that your head is moving forwards because it follows your spine as the abdominals move the spine forwards. That's it. So we're just getting a sensation here of keeping the head really heavy and relaxed in the hands. Okay, so where we initiate movement from dictates which muscles work the most. And if we can initiate it from the thorax, we're going to get more abdominal recruitment. Whereas if you feel that your head gets lighter in your hands, that could indicate that you're trying to pull your spine forwards from pushing your head forwards, which doesn't help you build strength in your abdominals, and it puts a lot of strain through your neck muscles. So we're really trying to keep that head nice and heavy and just get a feel for that here. And then from here, guys, you're going to hold that spine curl up, and the higher you lift your head and chest, the more achievable it is for your lower belly to reach the back of your waist towards the floor. So it's that downward sensation of that lower abdomen. Now the beauty here is you can see your pelvis. I can see that my two pelvic bones are nice and level. On an out breath, you're going to lift one leg to tabletop, so the knee comes over the hip, using that in breath to slowly lower the foot back down to the spot to the left, changing sides. So just alternating the knee lift. Now there is a big challenge to stay lifted through the centre here, with the lower abdomen sinking the back of the waist downwards in the direction of the mat. And you're checking that as you alternate that knee lift, the two pelvic bones are staying nice and level. So you've got to anticipate the lift of the knee, and you've got to think of reaching the opposite side of the pelvis down into the mat before that lift happens. So really activating the obliques on the opposite side to stabilise the pelvis against the rotational force that the leg creates on the pelvis. So I'm really starting to get nice and warm here through my upper abdominals, but I'm also very aware of our pelvic stability work here as well. Now I'm just going to do this one more time each side, checking that the neck can be released here and the pelvis is stable. And then slowly roll down through the spine. And then from here, taking your hands on those weights. So place the weights underneath your fingertips and then reach the back of the shoulders towards the mat. Now we're going to do the same spinal movement here. So on an out breath, I'd like you to drop your ribs down to lift your head and chest up and see if you can roll those weights up your hands. And then on the in-breath, rolling down and just feel those weights roll underneath the fingertips again. Still trying to keep the chest and the collarbones nice and open here. You are going to find, guys, that if you allow the shoulder blades to protract a little bit, so if you allow them to spread wide across the upper back, it recruits the chest a little bit, which also helps you come up a little bit higher in that spine curl. Okay, so although I'm cueing, try and keep that chest open, what I really mean is I don't want those shoulders to lift upwards towards the ears here. Okay, now on this next one, you're going to lift up and stay up, and remember to keep that tension out of the neck. So from here, take a strong grip of those weights, and then you're going to lift one weight up to the ceiling, and then see if you can reach it a bit further back without moving the spine, and then lower that weight down, and then changing sides. So as I do this, guys, I'm really fighting the rotational force that the movement of the arm and that weight places through the torso. So really trying to keep the two sides of the pelvis equally weighted, and then checking that I'm not allowing the weight of the arm to pull the spine back down to the mat. So I've got the downward challenge of gravity to fight, and the extension forces that the movement of the arm, the weight creates on the spine here. So that takes a lot of strength and control. Now adding the leg, so it's opposite arm and leg here. I'm not going too far back with that arm, really trying to keep that control through the centre. Every time you lift the arm, try and initiate it from your shoulder blade. So try and feel that sense of the shoulder blade dropping a little bit downwards as the arm goes upwards. Okay, now if you can challenge this more, lift the two arms and legs together and then lower them together. Again, I'm trying to anchor the back of my waist into the mat. And depending on the shape of your lower back might touch the mat, it might not touch the mat. So for me, my lower back is lightly on the floor here. And I'm trying to anchor my lower back down to the floor. So I'm trying to make it the heaviest part of my torso on the mat. Now challenging this more, lift up and stay up, shoulders down, and then you're going to reach the arms and legs apart, bring them back in. We're going to do this 3 more times, really hollowing the abdominals, really reaching that navel down towards the floor, keeping tension out of the shoulders. Now keep the arms and legs apart, and then you're going to bend one leg in and reach the waist forwards, extend out, change sides. So really trying to keep that nice stability through the pelvis and that lift through the spine. Okay, we've just got 1 more to do each side. So I'm breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And that in-breath makes it really challenging here, and then hug everything in. Okay, so reach those weights up to the ceiling. Take the feet back down to the floor. And then turn your palms to face one another. And then just open those arms out to the side while stretching through the chest, and then bring those waves back up again. So really using this to find a delicious stretch across the chest, down the length of the arms, and that extra bit of weight that the dumbbells lend to the exercise really facilitates that stretch, really gives me a deeper stretch here. So as you do this, guys, I want you to check that your rib cage is staying down on the floor. You're keeping that gentle nod of the chin towards your chest. That's it. And then next time you lift up, we're going to keep the dumbbells directly over the shoulders, and then you're going to go into a bridge. So using your out breath to tip your pelvis back, peeling that spine away from the mat, lifting up onto the shoulders. Take an in breath, and then on your out breath, slowly roll down, bringing down the back of the chest, back of the ribs, back of the waist, and use your in-breath to release your pelvis back to neutral. So we're going to do that a couple more times. Now, feel free to choose a breathing pattern that works for you, but really focus on the coordination of breath and movement when you do this, and keeping your breath in your rib cage so that you can access your deep core muscles anytime you need to for support. Now, at the top of the bridge, we're going to hold it. At the moment, I'm just allowing those dumbbells to sink my upper arm bones into the back of the shoulder joints. At the top, holding it, reinforcing pubic bone to belly button, keep those ribs soft, and then going into those chest openers. So reaching out to the side walls, take your time, go really, really slow when you do this. So you really feel that you're tensioning your chest muscles as they lengthen, and you're trying to find that stretch, and then keeping those shoulders nice and heavy on the floor as you come back up. Now we're going to challenge it a little bit more. So holding it at the top, see if we can add a march. Lifting one leg up, placing your foot back down, and then changing sides. Now as you alternate your knee lift, I want you to focus on pushing your supporting foot more downwards as you lift your knee upwards. And feel like it's the action of doing that that actually lifts the other leg up off the floor. Really challenging that stability for the pelvis. So trying to keep your pelvis as stable as you can. Now as you lift one knee up, I want you to open the opposite arm out to the side, and then everything comes back to the start position. So it's opposite arm and leg. Okay, now again, I want you to focus more on that supporting foot, pushing downwards into the mat, trying to maintain a nice level pelvis here. And we're going to do this just one more time each side. So really feeling those glutes, but I'm also feeling the control my abs have of the spine. Last one. And then slowly lower downwards. And then you're going to bring those weights down and come onto your side. So on your side, just make sure that you've got a nice straight line from fingertips to toes. Your pelvis and chest is square So wall in front of you, head in line with the spine. Bend your knees forwards. And then from here, just organise your dumbbells. You just need one of them. So your dumbbell wants to be opposite your sternum, your chest bone, or just a little bit lower. And then just forget about it for now. Let your ribs and your waist sink down into the mat. And again, focus on your breathing. So put your top hand on your top ribs. And then just feel that on your in-breath, or visualise that you're inflating your top lung. And just feel how the inflation of that top lung creates expansion in the top ribs. And then as you empty the lung, just feel the sinking of a rib cage. Okay, and then stay with that. And on your next in-breath, you're going to lift your bottom, waist and ribs off the mat. And then using that out-breath to sink back down. So I like to imagine that top lung is like a helium balloon floating to the ceiling, lifting the rib cage up with it. Notice that when your ribs lift up, your top pelvic bone lengthens out of your waist. Now keep that lift. So we're going to hold that lift at the top now. And then extend that top leg out so the heel is underneath the sit bone, taking a hold of your weight. Now just have your fingertips on that weight. Now from here, I want you to protract your top shoulder blade away from your spine and then retract it into the spine. So the elbows stay straight as you do this, and you're just allowing your arm to follow the articulation of the shoulder blade. So as the shoulder blade moves forwards on the rib cage to protract, the reach of your arm gets longer, and as it moves backwards on your shoulder blade to retract, the reach of your arm gets shorter. Now next time you retract, you're going to take a firm grip of that dumbbell, keeping that shoulder blade reaching into the spine, and you're going to lift that weight upwards to the ceiling and then lower that weight back down, initiating the lift of that weight from your shoulder blade. And as you lift the weight, I want you to lift your leg up and then lower the leg down. So this is not a big high leg lift. So I want you to just lift the leg up until you perceive it's parallel with the floor. So you can balance a tray of drinks on that top leg without spilling those drinks. That's it. And the challenge when you do the arm and the leg movement is to maintain the organisation of the spine. So when the lifts happen, you're not allowing that bottom, waist and rib cage to sink down into the floor. Okay, so we're really thinking of that lift of the leg coming from the hip, the lift of the arm coming from the shoulder blade. Now let's hold that leg lift, and then you're going to lower that weight down, lift back up to the 12 o'clock position, and then back down to the floor. Okay, so we're having to hold that leg lift a little bit longer, which really challenges the strength of those side glutes. We're going to do this 2 more times, so just really focusing on stability through the spine. Now we're going to lower the weight down, turn the palm inwards but keep the shoulder back. And then from here you're going to move your leg as far forwards as you can, keep your pelvis still and stable, and then move your leg as far backwards as you can keep the pelvis still and stable. I've run out of room, so I'm going to shuffle up my mat a little bit so that I've got room to move the leg backwards and forwards. And as I do this, guys, my biggest focus is to make sure that as the leg goes forwards, I'm not rounding the spine, and as the leg goes back, I'm not arching the spine. Still trying to keep the organisation of that top shoulder blade, legs staying parallel with the floor. Now I'm using an in-breath to reach the leg forwards, and out-breath to reach the leg backwards. Now as the leg goes back, you're going to reach the weight forwards, and as the leg goes forwards, you're going to reach the weight backwards. So as we get extension of the hip, we get flexion of that top shoulder, and as we get flexion of the hip, we get extension of that top shoulder. And as we swing the arm and the leg in a pendulum motion, the muscles of the torso have to react to that. So if you're keeping everything still and stable, your spinal stabilizers have to work really, really hard here. They have to react to what the arm and the leg are doing. And then coming back to the centre and then releasing down. Okay, we're going to repeat that on the other side, just having a glute stretch. So stepping that leg in and give it a hug with the opposite arm. your free hand just sits down at the base of your spine and press down into it to lift the spine a little taller, looking over that back shoulder, but really feel that nice stretch through the glutes. So changing sides. Okay, so organise your weight and just making sure that when you look down you can see your toes, pelvis and chest nice and square here, and then just bend the knees. And then for now, just focus on your breathing. So sink into the mat and put your hand on your top ribs and really focus on that expansion of the rib cage. Just noticing where your breath goes to. So how available is that breath to those top ribs? Can you take a bigger in-breath to create a longer exhalation? So really getting that breathing going. And then on your in-breath, you're going to lift your waist and your rib cage, and then on your out-breath, sink down. So feel that lift happens, the top pelvic bone lengthens out of that top waist, and just letting everything surrender into the mat again. So we're getting movement in the pelvis, we're getting movement into the spine, so good for mobility of the pelvis and the spine, activation of the side abdominals and those deep spinal muscles. So we're going to keep the lift, extend that top leg, and then lift to hip height and then lower back down. Okay, so we're focusing on hip disassociation, the ability to move the leg independently of the torso, which is an important part of walking gait. We need to have the ability to move the leg independently of the torso to allow for even distribution of force through the spine. So we don't end up with excessive motion through the spine. So here we're really focusing on activating through the side glutes and the outer thigh, keeping that spine nice and long, and just getting awareness of that leg movement. So keeping that top leg down on the floor, and we're going to go into that shoulder blade movement. So inhale to protract, exhale to retract, top shoulder staying down. Okay, now as you do this, try and keep your rib cage as still as possible. There's a tendency to rotate the rib cage forwards on the protraction and rotate the rib cage backwards on the retraction, but try and keep the ribs still, so you really just feel articulation of the shoulder blade and allowing your arm to follow that. Now maintain that retraction, so feel the shoulder blade moves to the spine and then arm lifts up, arm lowers down. Trying to keep that softness to your elbow. So if you keep the softness to the elbow, then we're trying to maintain the connection the arm has to the back, and you're having to use your muscles to stabilise the elbow joint and really focus on that dynamic movement from the shoulder. Now as the weight lifts up, you're going to lift your leg and then lower back down. And again, as I lift the leg up, I'm focusing more on keeping that bottom waist lifted off the floor, the top pelvic bone stacked over that bottom pelvic bone. So really challenging all the lateral muscles of the body here. So shoulder muscles, side abdominal, side back muscles, side glutes. Now lift up and stay up. So we're going to hold that lift, and then you're going to lower that weight down, squeeze the upper arm bone into the side of the rib cage, lift the weight up and then back down to the floor. So the arm lifts to 12 o'clock, and then think of the upper arm bone really squeezing into the side of the rib cage. I like to imagine that on that lowering to the hip, I've got a ping pong ball underneath the armpit, and I'm trying to squeeze the air out of the ping pong ball. Okay, holding that leg up there is really challenging endurance of the side glutes, outer thigh muscles. Now lift up, stay up, turn the palm down, leg moves forwards, leg moves backwards. Breathing in, breathing out, or choose a breathing pattern that allows you to stabilise that spine the most. So no swinging through the torso. I always look at a person's top, because if a t-shirt really crinkles, it means that the spine is rounding. If it then irons out, it means that the spine is arching. So I always look at what's happening to a person's top. Okay, so as the leg goes backwards, we're going to reach the weight forwards, and as the leg goes forwards, we're going to reach the weight back all the time, keeping that shoulder blade reaching into the spine here, legs staying parallel with the floor, so we're not starting to drop that leg. Seeing if you can grow longer in the spine. So really challenging the strength of the hip muscles, shoulder muscles, and spinal stabilizers. Last one, and then release. And let's have that glute stretch. So pushing yourself up through your side, extend your legs out, and then bend one leg in, step it over. So it's the leg that was the top leg. Hopefully I don't need to tell you that because you feel those glutes worked. And then free hand sits at the base of your spine, you push into it, you lift your spine up, you look over that back shoulder. So try and grow really tall here through the spine. And then release. Okay, so coming into all fours. Okay, so we're just going to use one weight for this, so we can just pop the other one at the other side. Okay, so in your quadruped posture, again, I want you to find that neutral position of the spine, so back nice and level, like the top of a table, and then just feel that your lower belly, your ribs and your chest are lifted up into the spine, but without losing length in the spine. Now the side with the weight, you're going to reach the weight out to the side, back to your hip, out to the side and down. So it's almost the same movements we were doing when we were laying on the side. Okay, really just focusing on initiating that lift from the shoulder blade, and then think of that ping pong ball underneath your armpit, trying to squish it, allow it to fill up with air again, and then lower that weight down. Now focus on the non-moving sides. I want you to make sure that your supporting shoulder is staying downwards away from the ear, and you're using that supporting arm to push the floor away from you, and that's going to help you really engage your shoulder stabilizers. Think of your pelvic triangle staying square to the floor and your spine staying long. Now next time when you lift, we're going to do this in balance, so you're just going to extend your opposite leg out to straighten and just hover the foot a fraction off the floor, so you've got less points of contact with the mat now, and that's really challenging your spinal stabilizers. So I'm having to work hard to sense that my two sides of the pelvis are staying level, supporting shoulders staying down away from the ear. Now let's reach the arm back to the hip and hold it, and then we're going to do pulses here, up an inch and down an inch, reaching that shoulder blade back to the spine. I'm going to do 5 more. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out to the side, and then everything back in. Just have a little release to sit back onto your heels and stretch, and we're going to do that again on the other side. Okay, so find that stability. So think of shoulders away from the ears, sending the armpits into the waist. So really connecting your abdominals into your pelvis here. And then, whoops, need a bit more space. You're going to go out, back, out and down. So as I bring that weight back underneath my shoulder again, I'm having to slightly bend the elbow just so I've got enough space to bring it underneath the shoulder. But as I lift it, I'm trying to keep that elbow angle the same. So I'm not thinking of leading from the elbow joint, I'm leading from the hand, but initiating from that shoulder blade. That's it. So this is really challenging my balance here, my ability to stay nice and square. So 2 level shoulders, 2 level hips, and you really get to feel the difference in strength between one side of your body and the other here. So I'm having to really challenge my posterior oblique slings, stabilising through the right lat, left glute. It's definitely more challenging on this side for me. Okay, doing it with balance, leg goes back, hover the foot, same thing. And I think we did 4 on the other side. all the time, asking yourself to keep that supporting shoulder down. I find that on this side, it's wanting to creep up and then staying back and pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out to the side and then release. Okay, have a stretch, so reaching back and then just having the weights at the side of you and then coming on to your belly. Okay, so in this position, just going to check that your pelvis is nice and level here on the mat. So the 3 bones at the front of the pelvis are equally contacting the mat. And then subtly draw your pubic bone up, but make sure that your 2 pelvic bones are definitely on the floor. Feel a sense of pressing the pelvis downwards and lifting that lower abdomen a little bit upwards. And then reaching the arms out to the sides, head hovering a fraction off the floor here so that I'm not tipping the head back from the neck, but I'm not rounding the neck either. So trying to keep that head in line with the spine. Armpits into the waist, lift up, lower down. So lifting up, really developing a nice strong back here. So as you do this, you're focusing on your pelvic stability, so you're not sinking and hanging out into that lower back. Focus on opening and stretching the chest, and we're lifting upwards in a straight line. Feel that when that lift happens, the head stays where it is in relation to the floor. So that head doesn't lift higher, it doesn't reach further away from the floor, controlling the lowering phase. And then lift up and stay up, and then you're going to pull the weights back and lift the spine higher, and then reach out to that T position. And I'm going to do 4 of these. So really shake your arms here, they're definitely starting to tire. 3 and 2, really building a strong back. And the last one, open that chest and release. Okay, and then sit your bottom back. So stretching out and then rolling up and then coming onto your bottom. Okay, so we're going to do roll back without the weights to begin with and then with the weights. So from here, you're going to hold the back of the legs and then just use the strength of your arms to lift your spine up on top of the pelvis. So lovely straight back, pulling your belly away from your legs. And then think about that first bit of your shoulder bridge. So you're going to curl that pelvis under and then slowly roll backwards onto the pelvis. And then to come up, chest bone rounds forwards and then lift the spine upwards. So as you roll back, you're initiating this from the pelvis, you're driving it from the abdominals. And as you roll up, you're initiating it from your thorax and driving it from your abdominals. Lengthening the 2 ends of the spine at the top. Shoulders staying relaxed, the chest is open, the collarbones are wide. Seeing if you can go a little bit further each repetition as you do it. Okay, let go of the legs and just see if you're able to roll back without the help of needing to pull against your legs. So really hollow those abdominals in, using that out breath to assist you in coming up. And then do the same movement with the weights. So either thumbs up or palms down, whatever works for you. Still keeping those shoulders down away from the ears. Okay, so as you come up now, push those weights forward and just try and feel how those weights actually assist the abdominals in bringing the spine up. So instead of it making the exercise harder, it actually makes the exercise a little bit easier for some people. So that really depends on your physiology, your anatomical structure. So you've got to make sure, guys, that you're doing what works for you here. Okay, but if abdominal strength is a bit of a challenge here, by pushing the weights forwards, the resistance helps the abs bring the spine upwards. Okay, so if you feel the control of this and you can now feel that you can work a little bit harder, Then roll back behind the pelvis, lift one leg up, see if you can balance, bend the other leg, and then see if we can do teaser now. So does it make it a little bit more achievable to do teaser with weights? Going all the way down, we can reach those weights up above the shoulders, just gives those shoulders a bit of a rest, and then reach those weights forward and use that to come upwards. And push the weights forwards as you roll back, and that just counters the weight of the upper body going backwards. So it just helps you decelerate a little bit. See if you can straighten those legs. Can you reach those weights up? And then can you keep those legs where they are as you roll down through the spine? And then let's do that 2 more times. Shoulders staying down, lift the weights, lift the spine, slowly control that lowering phase, keeping those legs where they are in space. Last one, guys. Lift it up, 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 up. Can we lift that chest up, sitting really tall in that teaser, and then release. Okay, so coming onto your knees. Okay, so in a kneeling position, I want you to make your way up to standing. So step forward with one leg and then the other. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with some squats. So feet about shoulder distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. Shoulders back, tummy in. And then from here you're going to tip your upper body forward, reach your bottom back, and then push down into your feet and come back up tall. So all the time when I do this, I'm keeping those shoulders backwards, so I'm supporting my waist from my back. I'm not allowing that to happen. That's it. And I want you to feel that you're tipping from the hips, sending your bum backwards, taking your weight into heels. As you push down to come up, you're bringing your weight more forwards towards the front of your ankles. Now next squat, let's stay there. So hold your squat, keeping good alignment with the upper body. Keep pulling those shoulders back, and then just pulse up an inch, down an inch. Okay, so when we squat, we're really bringing tension in the legs. So the hip and leg muscles are having to really, really work. So we're going to where we've got the most tension, and then we're trying to make it harder. We're pulsing on it, generating heat, making the muscles work and perform when they're under the most tension, when they're working the hardest. So starting to notice a little bit of heat in those legs. And then we're going to do one more pulse, but then hold the squat. We're going to row, so you're going to pull the elbows back, reach the weights under the shoulders. Now as I do this, I'm really trying to work my back muscles, but my thoughts are on the intensity I feel in my leg muscles. So I'm really starting to feel those quad muscles, those glutes have to really work to hold me. As you pull those elbows back, pull the shoulders back with the elbows. Feel that you're trying to narrow the back of a rib cage and widen the front of a rib cage. Now next time you row, you're going to hold it, and then I want you to straighten one arm forwards, one arm back, come back to that row, and then change sides. And as you do this, focus on keeping that stability through your torso. So we're not allowing any shifting here of the rib cage, the hips. I'm really trying to come back to the centre each time. So pulling the elbows and the shoulders back before you extend the elbows. So it's like you're finding that row and then you're punching it out. Finding that row and then punching it out. So hold it, and then the top arm pulses up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to that row. Repeat that on the other side. As you pulse that top arm, focus on squeezing that supporting shoulder blade back to the spine and trying to make that back arm reach longer. So 3, 2, 1. Come back to the centre and then come up. Okay, and I reckon we've done enough. So stretching your quads, because those muscles really do feel that when you're there for a while. Pulling your heel to your bottom, finding that figure of four, so stretching the glutes, and then repeating that on the other side, so stretching those quads. Oh, I've got gel legs now. That last bit is really quite a challenge. And then ankle on the thigh, squatting down. Okay, making sure that the pelvis feels level and that lifted knee is opening out to the side. And then just stretch your chest, pulling your tummy in, pushing your chest out. Okay, so I hope you're feeling strong and long after that, guys. Any more requests, any help with anything, just feel free to get in touch either through Facebook or email or YouTube. Thank you. Bye.